The title for today's book review is FRITZ by Satyajit Ray, F-R-I-T-Z, FRITZ. This short story was published in the Penguin book of Indian ghost stories, edited by Ruskin Bond. Is about a Swiss doll named FRITZ. The price of this book is rupees 250. We all know about Satyajit Ray, an eminent filmmaker, screenwriter, music composer, graphic artist, lyricist and author, widely regarded as one of the greatest filmmakers of the 20th century. Ray was born in Calcutta into a Bengali family which was prominent in the field of arts and literature. In this short story, there are two main protagonists. One is Jayant, who works in the editorial section of a newspaper, and the other is his friend Shankar, the narrator, who is a school teacher. They are great friends and have finally managed sometime in life to go on a holiday together. They decide to go to Bundi, a small town in Rajasthan around 200 kilometers from Jaipur. It's a beautiful place. I've been there. Incidentally, Jayant had been to this particular town during his childhood along with his parents. Jayant's father was in the Archaeological Survey of India, and that gave him many opportunities to visit many tourist locations. They planned to stay at the circuit house where Jayant had stayed long ago when he had come along with his father many years ago on an official visit. When they reach Bundi, Shankar notices a sudden change in Jayant's behavior. He's gone into a pensive mood and he's thinking about something. Shankar tries to query Jayant about his mood. Jayant says it's nothing but some old memories inundating his mind. Shankar thinks that Jayant, being the over-emotional type, is now getting nostalgic, so he doesn't say anything further in the matter. They go for a stroll in the beautiful compound of the circuit house when Jayant suddenly remembers that there was a tall deodar tree there. He searches for it by looking around and finds it at the end of the compound. He looks at the trunk searchingly and says, here he had met a European in the form of a doll, but doesn't exactly remember who it was or how they had met. They return to the circuit house where Jayant remembers Dilawar, the cook who had prepared their dinner when he had come with his father. His reminiscences don't stop there, they continue full flow, and then he is inundated with the memories of FRITZ. He tells Shankar the tale of FRITZ, the European doll, which Shankar hears it out in amusement. It was a 1 foot tall Swiss doll brought from Switzerland by his uncle for him. He says he was very attached to the doll and was devastated when two stray dogs had mutilated it. He had buried the doll's remnants under the very same deodar tree. Shankar is quite tired, so he goes to bed but wakes up abruptly in the middle of the night and finds Jayant sitting on his bed looking very perplexed. Upon asking the reason, Jayant says that something had walked over his chest when he was asleep. Shankar assures that it could have been a dream, a bad dream, but Jayant shows him his pillow, where there are faint marks pointing to the fact that an animal had indeed walked over it. Shankar does a thorough search of the place but doesn't find any small animals such as mice or rats. Shankar feels that his friend is just exaggerating his pent-up emotions. Nevertheless, he offers him some soothing words, after which they both go off to sleep. The following day they visit Bundi Fort, about which Shankar is very happy as he remembers the famous poem of Tagore, The Fort of Bundi. During the visit to the fort on the hills, Jayant remains quite lost in his thoughts. After returning, Shankar queries about his state of mind persistently and repeatedly, I would say. Jayant says that FRITZ, the doll, had come back alive, and it was the doll last night who had walked over his chest, leaving his footprints. Shankar, now annoyed with Jayant's irrational fears, suggests to dig up the doll's grave and see it for himself that the doll isn't back. Jayant agrees. Together they go to the garden, dig up the place where Fritz was buried. To their horror, they find a pure 12-inch human skeleton lying there exactly of the same size as Fritz. They both are confused and horrified when they see it. Some eerie thoughts and weird assumptions come to their mind. The story ends there on a cliffhanger with various connotations to suit the reader. So, the author has very intelligently left the story there, and it is for each individual reader to make out as to what had happened. So, I guess when you read the story, you will get this eerie feeling as to what probably is the reality of this story. The story is narrated in first person from Shankar's perspectives, and that provides a realistic depth into Jayant's emotions, unclouded by Jayant's irrational fears and beliefs. The story is built on short conversations between the two protagonists. The author, within the limited space, has also described the scenic surroundings so very well. Even Jayant's childhood memories are well captured. The story unwinds on flashbacks, where the sequencing of flashbacks is also quite perfect, given the fact that it's a short story. The characters are well portrayed, where Jayant is projected as a serious person and even emotional, and where Shankar is a smart, rational man who believes only in what he sees. Hence, he is annoyed at Jayant's assumption that Fritz is back, and it will only be right to say that Shankar is quite a determined person, because even when Jayant was reluctant to dig the grave, he was sure about what he wanted to do and how to get it done. The story is set in Bundi, Rajasthan. The author has used plain, simple English, easy to understand. It is a good read. I would give the story 7 out of 10. And before I close, let me also tell you offhand that Satyajit Ray was quite inclined to write such stories, and he even made a movie by the name of Sonar Kela, in which a young boy gets the memories of his previous birth, and then the parents take him to a fort in Jaisalmer, which is, if my memory is correct, and there when he goes, this child goes and he sees that Kila fort, his anxiety about the previous birth gets over, and then he returns to his parents. So some of Satyajit Ray's stories are extremely interesting. And another one is Anand Babu's Terror, which I have covered, and you can find it in this channel. And that's also a very interesting story by Satyajit Ray. So friends, goodbye and see you soon in my next program.